there is the stakes are high. The stakes are raised in the storm because your physical safety is threatened. The things that you have established and worked hard for is threatened. Your family's well-being is threatened. So a storm really comes through and it raises the stakes. And that's just an opportunity, because it doesn't always have to be bad, but it's just an opportunity to be at a platinum moment, to make a platinum decision, a key decision at a pivotal moment that can take you to like the next level or be the breakthrough that you need.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's kind of what I was thinking about.
Yeah.
And what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think that is very apropos in terms of some of the things I had also been thinking about and some of the teachings that I've been listening to, because not only are we creating a podcast about personal growth, professional growth, and development, I'm also in that mindset myself and looking at various teachers that I admire and people that, again, one of the persons we'll bring up very often is Miles Monroe. And one of the things he was talking about in terms of crisis is the European or American way of looking at a crisis, and also comparing that to, and or so I say contrasting that with how an Asian or a Japanese individual will look at it. And so, and how he defined it was that when we look at crises in a Western perspective, we're thinking in terms of catastrophic things, like you're talking about the storm or the hurricane. And when you're in, and you were talking about, okay, building infrastructure and what resources is it going to take in order to put things back in shape, back to normal. And in an Asian perspective, when you look at the definition of a crisis, it's opportunity. And so the way he framed it was that every crisis is not only an opportunity, but it's a business. Every crisis is a business.
So what do you mean by that?
Well, what he meant by that, and what I'm internalizing that to mean, is that when you have a crisis, business is about solving problems. A crisis is an opportunity that you can create a solution for, and therefore you create an opportunity by which to create income for yourself, or to create the sustainability for something that you've already established. And so when I'm looking at the crises in the Bahamas, somebody's going to create a business, or somebody's business is going to benefit from the crisis.
Absolutely.
And so when I'm looking at it from a platinum perspective, we have to have a platinum view of the crises that are before us in our personal lives. And what are the problems we can solve in our own life that other people can benefit from? And that's the way I would look at that.
That's very interesting and very relevant. And I didn't know that about opportunity and crisis. I didn't know that. But it makes perfect sense, because a couple years ago when they had another huge hurricane, it flooded, I don't know how many cars. There was some report where the hurricane flooded X amount of cars.
Yes.
And a lot of people were devastated about that, because obviously once you flood a car, you flood the engine, you can't use it anymore.
Right.
Or it's so badly damaged that you got to sell it for repairs. It's not worth it to you anymore.
Right.
But when that hurricane came through, the stock price for CarMax, publicly traded company, CarMax, their stock value goes up during hurricanes because they specialize in selling used cars. Right. So when there's a hurricane and a whole bunch of cars are either destroyed or they're damaged to the point where they have to be resold, CarMax benefits very greatly from that.
Sure. And so, but how can you become the CarMax of your industry?
That is the billion. Yeah. How can you become?
And so we have to start thinking creatively around what must I do, or what can I do to position myself to benefit from, and also while I'm benefiting, how can I be a help? Because the success of a platinum hitter is not just about himself or herself. It's also about the collective, because we have to serve while we're building.
Mm.
And serving while we're building gives us the ability and the unique business proposition to identify ourselves as those who are part of the solution and not just taking advantage of an opportunity, so to
Right,
speak.
right. And I think that's very important.
Sure.
Because, there are vulture hawks out there, vulture hawks.
Right.
People that are like just looking for an opportunity,
Right.
And we're not out to take advantage of anybody.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. But, and I think taking the advantage piece or what have you is really about being in position and being intentional about where you want to go and how you want to do it. Because taking advantage has a couple of different connotations to it. And I think that I'll just use the platinum opportunity is that you look at it from the perspective of solving a problem, but also how can you serve the best and the most by giving unto others or what have you in that opportunity. Because one of the things I know and that I've learned from my journey is that the more I give of myself without the expectation of a return, someone always remembers that. And later in a moment when I'm in need of something, that person shows up to say, hey, Robert, here's this, here's that, or what have you. Because sometimes the service is not about the compensation. It's about the giving. And I think that when you have individuals who are hovering over tragedy or what have you for the sake of benefiting for themselves and taking advantage of, then those individuals are opportunistic or what have you. And not to say that that's a bad thing, but your intent behind what you want to do becomes good and or bad. And so I think that as we begin to gain purpose in our lives and have purposeful intent around the things that we want to do, we really begin to be the examples of what the possibilities are and how we can live our best lives today.
So how do you start with the mindset? How do you begin to go from a mindset of where, okay, so say some kind of storm is coming in my life. Okay, a huge bill that I wasn't expecting to pay, a couple $1,000s, and I got a couple thousand, but that's it. Right. And then I'm going to be out for 30 days till I get paid again. How can I go from being just devastated about, the outlook of my financial future to being able to just basically collect myself and look at the situation objectively and then act from a place of, be proactive about my next move as opposed to just waiting on the 30 days and then reacting to whatever crisis happens then?
Sure. And that's an excellent question. And to use the analogy or use the storm as a backdrop for this conversation, one of the things that is really consistent about a storm, you see it coming. Your financial storms, you see them coming. But how are you preparing for them determines what you do and what actions you take in order to address it as it's coming in. And so there's an old adage. If you want to change something in your life that you're not satisfied with, keep looking at it. And you keep looking at it from the vantage point of, if I get sick and tired of looking at it the way that it is, I'm going to do something to it to change the outcome. And so the same thing with these storms that are coming, they rarely just happen.
It never just happened.
There's a forecast for the storm. And so these financial storms that we see ourselves in is because we generally have not adequately prepared for what we've seen coming. We're either self-paralyzed and we don't take the necessary actions and or steps to kind of move towards resolution in that area, or we become lackadaisical, and we become lazy in our thinking that we never come up with a solution for the problems that we're currently in.
Just complacent.
Yes, definitely. But the whole thing, so for me, in terms of the mindset, it's about looking at what is in front of you and preparing for it. And so, because without preparation, so many things can happen. And so when you become reactionary to things, you don't put your best foot forward. And so you may put a Band-Aid on it to stop the bleeding for the moment. But what's your long-term solution to really dealing with that particular issue? It's like dealing with your credit. If you never deal with your credit, you're always going to have crappy credit. And if you don't kind of monitor it from time to time, other things can creep in and take advantage of your credit without you being aware. And so, again, people are going to be opportunistic in terms of what they're going to do with what you present to them. And so me being an individual platinum hitter, I have to have a mindset of growth, a mindset of greatness, a mindset of being the best that I can be at in all of these areas. And so for me, when looking at how I teach, how I instruct, how I listen, how I learn, all of those things kind of feed into one another, or what have you. So one of the workshops that I've designed is called responsive success. And
Mm,
responsive success is really about responding to a situation versus reacting to a situation, because you get different outcomes
hmm
when you react versus when you respond. And so we react because we have not prepared. We respond because we are prepared. And
hmm
so when we learn how to kind of navigate the turbulent waters of our troubles, then we can generally get to calmer waters in a manner that is
Mm.
beneficial to everyone.
That makes sense because when we have emergencies, who's the first person on on the scene?
Hmm.
The first responders, not
Hmm.
the first reactors.
Come
They're
on.
responders
Yes.
because they know what to do. So they're responding to the thing that they've been waiting for.
Right.
And the thing about people that
Mhm.
respond is that they have systems in place that let them know like they were expecting the storm.
Yes.
Just like you said, you can not only see it come in on the horizon, with the
Mhm.
naked eye, but you could also see it in the signs.
Yes.
When there's a big hurricane, the
Mhm.
what's the thing called, the shores, where the
Mhm.
water meets the shore,
Right.
the
Sure.
tide. The
Hmm.
tide goes out when there's a big hurricane coming,
Sure.
or the sky turns purple when there's going to be a tornado, or
Hmm.
some weird color, when there's going to be a tornado, or animals will start behaving differently.
Right.
So there are signs
Hmm.
all around, but you have to be aware that those signs are telling you something,
Right.
right?
Hmm.
And they're telling you that this event is about to happen.
Right.
So not only do you have to know about those signs in order to be a
Hmm.
responder, but you have to kind of know what those signs mean.
Sure.
You got to know what to
Hmm.
look for, and then you got to know how to respond to them.
Right. Well, so the question becomes, in learning to navigate life, there are signs that are posted at various points or intervals in our journey. Where do we get the knowledge and or the understanding of what those signs are? Are they universal signs with universal meanings, or are they individualistic based on who you are as an individual?
Hmm. Hmm. It's stumping me. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So no, but they could be. It could be a little bit of both.
Mm-hmm.
It depends on either way you go.
Right.
There are general signs that you can look out for, but then what do those signs mean to you?
Right.
And how, I guess, your response to it is going to be tailored to how you anticipate responding to the overall situation.
Right.
Your response to the sign is like, okay, time for me to put this in place, time
Right.
for me to put that in place.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Well, and one of the things, and I asked that question intentionally because that's where mentoring comes in at.
Mm.
Because when you have the proper leadership and or direction, then you can help that those teachings can help you navigate those difficult times. And so the signs, while they may be universal in nature, they have different nuances based on where you are in your thinking,
Mm.
in your understanding, and in your being. So we have to learn about ourselves. And so when you learn about who you are and how you respond to different situations, then you can get a better picture of how you're going to act and or react in that situation as well. And so is it the study of yourself is really critical. And
Mm.
so what I find is that in my journey, when I have not paid enough attention to myself and to my current situation, things from the sidelines can enter into the picture and distract me from my purpose,
Mm.
distract me from my goals, and therefore those things become sidelining opportunities
Hmm.
that would take me out of the game.
Hmm.
And so, because I want to be a platinum hitter and I want to be in the game all the time, to be in the game means that I have to start anticipating what's coming. But I need mentors to do that.
Hmm.
And not only as I learn new information, I have to be in a position to teach other people the information that I've learned so that collectively we all grow and we all rise together as
The
a team.
experience that you have as a mentor is really the thing that people benefit from.
Sure.
Yeah. You
Hmm.
can't make a fake hurricane. We can train all day, we can practice, but
Right.
we can't imitate a hurricane.
Yes.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
the only way you get that kind of experience is like you have to live through it.
Right.
It just has to have happened, and you have to have been around.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and that's where experience is key.
Right. It is. It is. You know, several years ago we went through what is called CERT training, and it is to prepare you for disaster. And it is to be in your community, but be an individual that's prepared to respond to an event that comes up. And it is certified through FEMA and some other organizations or what have you, but you go through training through the fire department and some other areas. And so it is Community Emergency Response Team, CERT. And so what I found really remarkable about that program is that it prepares you for catastrophic events and give you the skill set to not panic, the skill sets to be able to see trauma and deal with trauma. And so trauma is not just something that is physical. Trauma can be emotional. Mm-hmm. And how do you deal with those hidden traumas that you mm-hmm. see? And so all of those things kind of help you see the signs. And when you see the sign, you know how to respond because the signs tell you what to do. Signs are instructions. Mm. When you see a stop sign, mm-hmm. the stop sign is the instruction to stop.
Go ahead, come on.
And so when we see the caution sign, that mm-hmm. is the instruction to slow down. Mm-hmm. And so when you have these various components of signs in your life that comes up on a periodic basis or on a rotating basis, you generally know what those signs mean when they're coming up. And therefore, you respond appropriately.
Why do we ignore the signs, though? Sometimes there's so many signs, and it's like, I ignored it, you know. And mm-hmm. only in hindsight, it's like, man, I should have saw that, mm-hmm. you know. So why do we do that? Why do we just disregard things mm-hmm. that's like obvious red flags, mm-hmm. you know?
Well, I think that instead of looking at that particular question in a broader sense, in terms of we, personalize it. Mm-hmm. Why do I?
Exactly.
And so what is your individual reason? Why do I avoid the signs? Why do I ignore the signs? What is my rush to avoid it and move through it, knowing that I'm putting myself in danger or at risk? I'll see a light that's turning yellow, knowing that I'm a little bit, but I'm going to go through it anyway. Why would I avoid it? Or should I say ignore it and run the light and run the risk of getting into an accident? Why am I so confident, so cocky, so arrogant to think that I'm always going to escape death? Because I've trained myself, programmed myself to take risks that are unnecessary.
Unnecessary risks.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Yeah. Unnecessary.
Yeah, I dealt with a lot of unnecessary because, you know, I used to day trade. Mm-hmm. Well, I still do, but I haven't in a long time. But day trading has been a thing for me. So like being able in the moment to determine, okay, how many shares am I going to buy? How much risk am I going to put on the table? Mm-hmm. You know, and I learned a lot from the days where I lost money, more so than the days where I gained money. And we've had conversations about, you know, days where I have a red day. I come in here, I talk to you, I'll be like, man, I just don't know. I can't focus. So, but yeah, thinking about those red days and, you know, the lessons that I learned from the red days would always make me reframe and say, okay, what can I learn from this? Okay. And then I go back and I adjust my strategy a little bit, you know, and then it works or it doesn't work, you know, or you end up getting different signs that you didn't know. You don't know what these new signs mean, but you just have to be ready to, I guess, you know, respond appropriately.
Yes.
Yeah, definitely.
You know that. And I guess one other piece that I don't want to lose sight of in terms of the overall discussion in terms of storms that come and utilizing the backdrop of the hurricane hitting the Bahamas and on the western coast of the United States is that when you have an emergency that is pending, that is coming, that is approaching, or that you're in the midst of, let's not underestimate the value of leveraged resources. And so while you do the things you can to prepare for what you know is coming, but also leverage your resources and don't be afraid to ask for help with the storm, knowing that the storm is coming. Line up your resources that are going to be necessary to help you navigate properly and in a timely fashion. Because one of the things that I find that it is so devastating in the midst of a storm is a delayed response.
Mm.
And so when you prepare ahead of time and line up your resources, leverage your relationships so that you can have access to what you need so that you can come out of the storm quicker rather than later.
Time for a segment break. It's
Yes.
time for Today I Learned. And you just reminded me of something that I learned. Now I have to remember what it was. Man, but you just said it. You were just talking about leveraging leveraging your resource. Okay, this is what I learned. Okay, you know how they say we only use 10% of our brains, which is something that I disagree with. I think we use more than 10%, but I digress. I learned that in relation to using only a small portion of our brains, we only use a small portion of our contacts in our phone.
Yes.
So if you're trying to accomplish something, or if you're looking for help on something, how many contacts do you have in your phone? You know, and how long has it been since you reached out to some of these people? I mean, everybody has just value and skills that we can use, and they're a part of your world for some reason. They're in your phone for some reason, you know. Why are they in there? You know, do we use 100% of our contacts for 100? Are we maximizing the potential of the contacts that we even have?
Yes.
You know? Yeah.
Definitely. And how do you determine when and where to use a resource or an opportunity? And so, for instance, for someone that's a contact in your phone who may not have been the most cordial to you, they may have even wronged you in some fashion, but you have an opportunity that's coming up that could greatly benefit them. Do you pass that on to them, or do you hold on to that for yourself? Because now they may be in a storm that you don't have an idea about. But because you know that this is coming and this is something that they need, pass it on instead of holding it off, where someone that you know is in need can benefit. And so knowing when, where, and how to leverage your resources, because the leveraging is not just about leveraging it for yourself, leveraging your resources for the benefit of others as well.
That's true. Definitely. Yeah. Well, yeah, I had some a whole bunch of thoughts about, you know, storms and different things and how you can benefit from, you know, all those kinds of opportunities. But yeah, that's basically what I wanted to talk about.
Okay.
I thought people might find that helpful. You know, just, and of course, you know, thinking about the people in Florida and in the Bahamas that have had to live through that.
Sure. And it's also about future storms and not just the present storms, because the storms are going to come. And as they do, one of the keys is to prepare. Another key is to leverage your opportunities and your resources. Another key is to not sit on the sidelines while work is being done. Find out where you can help and be the most impactful for that season of storms in your life or the lives of those around you, so that you can benefit them and be of service to them. Because you may see a storm coming, but it never hits you. It hits somebody you know. So how are you prepared to assist them in overcoming the tragedies of their storm, the traumas of their storms, because you missed yours?
I wonder if, and I know we're wrapping up, but I wonder if there was anything, any side stories in the Bible, you know, like when the plagues hit, you know, and sometimes it would be like, oh, the plague is going to hit on the Egyptians, but it's not going to hit on the Hebrews. You know, I wonder if there were any Egyptians that were like, hey, can I come over for dinner? You know, you know, can I come over to y'all house? Y'all don't have that many frogs in here. You know, I wonder if there were people that would like open their doors to their neighbor, to their Egyptian neighbors.
Sure.
You know,
and I'm almost sure that there were those individuals who saw what was happening and taking place and wanted to be in relationship with those who were going to be saved. And so we sometimes see the light that's not meant for us. And we benefit from that. It's like, for lack of better terminology in terms of that or what have you, it's like the adoption of Christians into Christianity. You know, to be grafted into eternal life, to be a chosen people, and to be those individuals who benefit by the virtue of adoption. And that's a great thing, because, and I think that even on a future discussion, to have a discussion about the spirit of adoption, what that looks like as a platinum hitter. What does it look like to bring someone into your sphere, to invite someone into your life, and to embrace them as they are part of who you are in spirit, but not necessarily by blood? And how do you love them the same as if they were?
That's a great topic for next time.
Super.
Yes, sir. Well, why don't you tell the people where they can find us at?
Well, we are the Platinum Hitters, and you can check us out on the World Wide Web, 2 different places. www.platinumhitter.com, subscribe to this site, and also www.backporchtc.com. Both places you can find Platinum Hitters, sign up to follow us, and get great content for your personal and professional growth and development.